Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I want to jump in because I just keep on seeing your comments and your commentary about this whole situation with Deion Sanders. In case you've been under a rock, Deion Sanders caused some controversy because he chose to leave Jackson State for the University of Colorado. That was a big surprise. A lot of people thought that Primetime was gonna hang out and keep his magic in Jackson, and he chose to go to Colorado. And so there have been some adjustments. I decided I wanted to keep you guys posted on the developments. As Jeff Lighty Jr. and I yesterday, we spent time dissecting this issue for quite a while, just kind of looking at the nuances of it. And I want you guys to know, first off, there was a survey that we took amongst black people where I basically said, do you agree with Deion Sanders' decision to go to Jackson State? And the majority of you said you disagreed, but some of you agreed. And about 47% of you said you agree. I want to say 53% of you disagree with his decision. And so I thought it was just worth exploring because I really want to try my best to hear all the points of view that are different from mine. And I don't even think there's a right or wrong answer here. It's really a matter of understanding the nuances. You know, every decision has a pro and a con. Every decision has a yin and a yang. Every decision has an up and a down. And I want to try to help you understand just some of the dynamics of the decision. I'll give you my bias in terms of the fact that I was a little disappointed to see him leave Jackson State. But you know, it's everybody's right to make a decision that they want to make. So let me know if you can hear me. Give me a yes if you can hear me. Okay. I'm on. I'm just sort of laying here in the bed, actually talking to you. So I want to make sure my audio's coming through all right. So give me a yes in the chat if you can hear me all right. And what's up, Terry Cobb and KNC and Christopher Middleton and D Dunk. He says I'm going to Colorado. He's going to Colorado. Yeah, he is. Deion's going to Colorado. He's going to make a lot more money than Jackson State could probably ever pay. And you know, and I think that when we say things like, you know, well, he deserves, you know, or Jackson State should have offered him the same money. I think you need to understand Jackson State can't pay that money. Jackson State can't pay that money, you know, and so I've asked you guys to kind of consider that it can't just be about the money because because white people control all the money. So if you always make every decision about the money, you might as well just say, I'm going to do whatever white people tell me to do. Because whenever black people build something good that involves all of us, whenever we build an institution that elevates the whole community, what white folks do is because they're smart with money, collectively they'll come and they'll pluck the very best out of that institution. It's like if you have a family business and you've got five brothers all working together running the family business, and then their mama's working with them, and the aunts and uncles all have jobs, and they got one person in the family business that's the superstar. You know, let's say he's in the NBA or something, and he's funding the business, and then somebody comes along and realizes that he's the star, he's the reason the business is doing so well, and they hire him away. Well, he benefits, he wins individually, but the business flops, the business struggles, the business isn't what it used to be. And I mentioned to you guys the other day, that's how the Negro Leagues died. The Negro Leagues died in the same way that this energy in Jackson State is dying, yeah, with Deion leaving. They went to the Negro Leagues and they saw that they had something special going on. They saw black people building an institution that would probably be worth billions of dollars today, and they said, okay, we don't want everybody. We don't want all these Negroes in our space. We want the special Negroes. We're going to grab the guy at the top. We're going to grab the Jackie Robinson. We're going to make offers to a couple other players, but we don't want all the players. We don't want all the businesses. We don't want them really owning anything. We just want them to come work for us. And so, you know, the thing is that the reason that there's so many people who are just without question completely comfortable with Deion's decision to go get the bag and get a better job is because we're trained to think in terms of jobs. We're not trained to think in terms of ownership. We don't think in terms of institution building. We just say, okay, which job is paying the most money, and that's the job we take. So because remember when Deion was building at Jackson State, he was building an institution owned by all of us. right? Like all of us, have a piece of Jackson State. Now we don't control it all. It's, some of these HBCUs do have a little too much influence from people who are not black, but that's kind of our thing. A lot of people, a lot of black folks are benefiting from that. At Colorado State, he's building Colorado State. He's building their legacy. He's building their brand. He's building their institution. And black folks don't control any of that. But anyway, hit the thumbs up button. By the way, please hit the thumbs up button. I'm gonna show you guys. I'm gonna play a video clip. Primetime was kind of describing or explaining some of his perspective on it. And I think that needs to be heard. So I'm gonna play this clip for y'all real quick. Give me a guess. Let me know if you can hear it. Okay, here we go.
The thing that alarms me the most is just because I'm leaving Jackson, they think that I'm leaving African Americans. I don't know if you noticed or not, but I'm black. I can never leave who I am and what I am and how I am and how I go about being that. So it is still my task to look in that locker room and see 65 to 70% of African American men trying to help them get to the next level, as well as all the others. My calling is for young men, young women, and people of all walks of life, all social climates, and all ethnicities. That's my calling. My calling is not built on a location. It's built on a destination. Now that was good. You're supposed to clap for that. Darn it, that was good. You give me some of my good stuff. We just getting started. I already went in the bag, baby. Let's go.
Okay, so he made this statement, and and he said something like, I'm not here for just black folks. I'm here for all people of all ethnicities and everything else. And I get that. I mean, that's the language you got to speak at a white university. If you talk too black too regularly, they're not gonna be happy with that. They're gonna get offended by that. But the problem is that this is the similar language to what you hear a lot with the Congressional Black Caucus, or what you hear with the Democratic Party. And when you hear politicians that kind of ignore the black community, or when you say something about reparations and they say, we're doing this for everybody, we're here for everybody. Remember, Dr. Claude Anderson was talking about that. He was saying you have to be cautious of that, because they get you to the point where you're serving everybody, and then you forget, about serving your people directly, about doing things that are going to actually benefit the community. I'm not talking about the individual. Deion is not the first black man to get a fancy job making lots of money. There's nothing unique about that. There's nothing original about that. There are thousands of black men around the country that make either hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars building white corporations. There are many black men and women, thousands of them all around the country, building white universities. There are a ton of black men and women around the country building white establishments of all forms, that making good money to do it. I mean, there's nothing, really unique about that. Now, what is unique is when you're building something that is owned and controlled by black people. So for example, um, when I was on the faculty of Syracuse University, I was building for Syracuse. I wasn't building for me. I wasn't building for my family. I was building for Syracuse, making a lot of good money at it. I was a high-paid black man at a white university too. I know exactly what Deion's experiencing for the most part. Um, I realized that I had been duped my whole life. I realized I'd been lied to. I realized I'd been told that your job as a black man is to go out here and chase the bag, make the most money you can possibly make, go to the best institution you can to get the most money possible, and that's it, and not think about the long-term benefit of your labor. And the problem was, I realized, I said, wait a minute, I'm up in this university. I get to teach a couple black kids. There were black kids at Syracuse. Deion referenced the black men at Colorado and the black women at Colorado. There were black men and women at Syracuse, and they would come to see me, and I was happy to, I was really happy to talk to them and meet them and hang out with them and everything else. But then I realized that I wasn't around my people for real, for real. I wasn't really pouring into the community the way I could have poured into the community. Sure, I was mentoring 30, 40, 50 black kids a year. But I said, I think I'm supposed to be doing more than that. I think I'm supposed to be doing more than building up the legacy of Syracuse University. I'm supposed to be building something that's owned and controlled by our community. So that's what led me to create the Black Business School. So at the Black Business School, in case you don't know about it, I mean, we are pretty much an HBCU that was built in the Black community. The difference is that we're 100% independent. We don't depend on government money or corporate money. Our core beliefs is that we believe Black people should educate our own children, create our own jobs, and support Black businesses. We have trained over 10 million Black people how to buy their first share of stock, how to buy real estate, how to start family businesses. Give me a yes in the chat. Say something in the chat if you've been financially impacted in a positive way from the things that you've learned on this platform. We have over 1.4 million subscribers. We reach a million Black people a week. We're approaching a billion views on various forms of social media and YouTube and everything else. And that was what I realized that I should pour into, because that's an institution that we own and control. There is no white man that can come in and offer a check or a bag that would make me walk away from the HBCU that I've helped to create. And what led to my line of thinking, you can think how you want. I mean, I get it. Deion's getting his money. I'm happy for him. But what led to this line of thinking was, I said, okay, I could go chase a bag, and I could go work at a big white university and build up that university and make Syracuse rich. Syracuse was benefiting. I was on national TV. I was the prime time of finance. I was a bad mother sucker. I'm not gonna cuss tonight because I don't want to I don't want to mess up the video. But seriously, I was a bad dude. I was the only Black man in the entire United States to get a PhD in finance during the year 2002. That year, there was not another single African American on earth that I knew of that got a PhD in finance. So I was the number one recruit. I was young and cocky. Deion was prime time on the field. I was prime time when it came to finance. I was the number one finance student at the University of Kentucky. I had the highest GPA of all the Black students on campus. So he was the best defensive back in the NFL. I was one of the smartest Black men in the country. And so I got big money. I got big bags offered to me, and I took a big bag. I took a big bag and went to Syracuse. And when I got there, I had a lot of envy. I had a lot of see a lot of maybe sometimes we forget about what you got to deal with when you're working with them folks that don't really like you that much. I came in, I was young, Black, smart, and cocky, confident as hell. They didn't like all of that. That didn't work so well. That did not blend with the culture. So I'm really curious to see how Deion is gonna fit in that culture. I don't know if he's going to fit, because I know that when I was at Syracuse, when I came in with my little cocky ass, it did not fit well. They did not like the fact that I was the highest paid person on campus. Deion's going to be the highest paid person on the entire University of Colorado system, from what I understand. I think the football, basketball coaches are way up there. If he's not the highest paid, he'll be top five. I don't know how they're going to feel about you know, a guy with his demeanor, his persona, making more money than all the white people on that campus. What do y'all think? I mean, what do y'all think? Do you think they're going to just ignore it? You think they'll be okay with it, or you think there might be some issues, especially if he don't come in there winning? Let's say he comes in there. Let's say he has about three, seasons where they go, 5-7, and maybe 6-6, stuff like that. I mean, how do you think they're going to react, to him? And so I don't really know. I don't know. Now, and I love the points that you guys are making, because I want to hear all that. Someone said that he did it for his sons and his coaches, not himself. So I'd be curious to know if he took all of his coaches with him. If Colorado is hiring every single coach from Jackson State, or if they're hiring Deion and a couple of his friends. They don't usually hire everybody. They'll let you bring in two or three people, but they got their own infrastructure. They got their own people over there. They're not going to let you just bring in everything lock, stock, and barrel. And then, he does have his sons. From what I understand, one of his sons, Shiloh, he didn't even play in the last game. He wasn't on the sidelines. According to Jeff Lightsey Jr., Shiloh was nowhere to be found. And Deion mentioned that Shiloh was in the doghouse, and he was mad at him. But I wonder if Shiloh is angry at his father for making that decision, because Shiloh was deeply connected to Jackson State. He had fell in love with the culture, fell in love with the people. I'm not saying this is it. I can't speculate on a man's personal family situation. But Shiloh, the defensive back, is not a beneficiary, from what I understand, from Deion's move. He mentioned that he left his other son at home. Now, the quarterback, Shador, a bad boy, NFL prospect. I'm assuming he'll get the starting job at Colorado. But I don't really believe that he needed to leave Jackson State to be an NFL prospect. His daddy is the greatest defensive back in the history of the NFL, so I would imagine that he could have got all the tryouts he needed. Anybody remember Steve McNair? Aaron McNair played at Alcorn State, and he was so good at Alcorn State that he went to the NFL and became, a legendary quarterback. So I don't know if being at Colorado was necessary for his sons to get an opportunity, although that is a possibility. Um, here's another thing. This is the point. This is the main word that sticks in my mind in terms of what's going on with Dion and why, and what I want you all to just understand in terms of why there is another point of view. The operative word for today is institution. Institution. You can build up the individual or you can build up the institution. A big part of the reason that you don't have a lot of economic power in the black community is because you lost all your institutions. When they convinced you to integrate, when they convinced you that integration was the best thing since sliced chicken, their goal was to get you to abandon everything that you owned so you could come work for them, and so you could go from becoming owners to becoming employees. They needed more employees. You could go from being producers to being consumers. They need you to buy their products. They need you to buy their products. They need you to work for them. They need you to pay them rent. That's the way capitalism works. So the word institution is an important word for black folks because we're always, from childhood, we're trained to chase a bag and we're trained to chase a job. Anybody seen this? Anybody ever seen where your family members, like when you tell them you start a business, they don't even care. They don't say nothing. They don't even hit the like button when you post your product on social media. Like they look at you like they feel sorry for you. Like, well, one day you'll get a job. That little business you got, how's that little business doing? Right? No respect for your business at all. But if you go on LinkedIn right now and you say, I just got a new job, y'all. I'm now the head manager of buckets at Walmart, y'all. Or you tell them you're the manager or something. I'm the manager, I'm the senior district manager at Oodles and Noodles. You'll get 1,000 likes. People, congratulations, way to go. Oh my God, that's so great. Because you're speaking that language, you're speaking that job seeker language. You're not, the owner language says that if you're good at your job, you're supposed to leave that job and go create a company so that other people can benefit from your talent. But the job language says that why would you take the risk of having a company or an institution when you could just go get a paycheck, just go get a job, just go sit up under somebody's umbrella? So part of the reason white supremacy prospers is because you love it. You love it. That's where you're comfortable. You're comfortable with white folks creating all the universities and then you becoming a student and going deep in student loan debt while they're using their institutional power to go gentrify your neighborhood. Tell me if I'm lying. Tell me if I'm lying. How many of y'all live in a city that's got a big white university that's buying up all kinds of property all in that area? Anybody seen this? Give me a yes in the chat if you've seen this. Has anybody seen how white universities, and probably including University of Colorado, how they got your ass deep in student loan debt? This is where the money's coming from. They got you deep in student loan debt because you went to college and went in debt so you could get a job. And they're taking that money and they are gentrifying the shit out of black neighborhoods all across this country. Go look around Johns Hopkins University. It used to be the hood. Now it's got a Starbucks, a Whole Foods, a Trader Joe's, and a dog park. Go check out Yale University in Hartford, Connecticut. It used to be surrounded by the hood. Now it's a safe, wonderful neighborhood where white women can go jogging in the middle of the night. The list goes on and on. Where I was at Syracuse University, it used to be surrounded by the hood. Now they done bought all that stuff up and expanded that campus everywhere. USC used to be surrounded by the hood. Now they bought up probably a couple $1 billion worth of property and they're using your money to do it. That's why you have student loan debt so they can go gentrify your neighborhoods. You're participating in your own economic destruction because you don't understand how that game of powernomics is played. Every black man on earth looking for a job working for white people, but ain't no white people looking for no jobs working for us. They get all of their labor and they get your labor too. You get nobody's labor, which is why your institutions don't exist. Joyce said Yale is not in Hartford, whatever city it's in. You know what I'm talking about. Don't let's not be picky, Joyce. Why are you picking? Why are you messing with me, Joyce? Joyce is cyber bullying me. Stop cyber bullying me, Joyce. I love you. Well, whatever city Yale is in. I know it's in Connecticut. I can't remember what Stanford or I have no idea. But the point of the matter is to say that, when you're talking about institutional power, institutions are built by people that make sacrifices. Institutions can only grow and exist if you have somebody that says, I really don't want a job. I actually want to build something that's going to last in the community. Now, Deion may not be that dude. He may not be that guy. And I don't want to put that weight on him. I think he had the power to be that guy. But if someone doesn't have the vision, then it doesn't matter how great they are. You got to have a greatness that matches. It's New Haven, Connecticut. Thank you very much, Afro Nation TV. See, if I get it wrong, don't make fun of me. Just correct me. I told y'all I ain't perfect. I ain't trying to be perfect up in here now. Joyce, you told me I was wrong, but you didn't correct me. Just correct me. It's okay. I can be corrected. And I don't even pretend to be right about Deion. I mean, I'm wrong. I'm clearly wrong about Deion because Deion has his own decision to make, and he's making it, and I respect that. But I have a right also to give an alternative point of view to help us understand the bigger picture behind all of this. So you have no institutions in your community because nobody makes a sacrifice. I want y'all to guess how much it costs to purchase the Chicago Bears. Guess how much they paid to a couple generations ago to create the Chicago Bears. Can anybody guess? Anybody know? If you watch this chat, you probably know. If you watch this channel, you probably know how much the Chicago Bears cost. How much did Chicago Bears cost when that team was purchased 100 years ago, less than 100 years ago, or about 100 years, something like that? It was $100. They paid $100 for the Chicago Bears. Now I want you to go look up what Chicago Bears are worth right now. I'm gonna guess about $4 to $5 billion. $4 to $5 billion. The New York Giants were purchased around the same time by another family that had a long-term vision of institution building. And the New York Giants that were purchased for $500, they're now worth over $5 billion. So you got a rich white family that could buy your mama 10 times over. They could buy every HBCU in America right now. And they have that wealth because somebody had a vision and wanted to invest in building an institution. They wanted to build an institution. I could keep going down the list. There's plenty of other NFL teams. Even Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. He bought the Cowboys not that long ago. He bought the Cowboys in 1989, the same year Deion Sanders graduated from college, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was in the NFL draft in 1989. He bought the Dallas Cowboys the same year Deion Sanders left college for 150 million. 150 million. Now the Cowboys are worth $8 billion, and Jerry Jones and his old racist ass it has $8 billion, and Jerry Jones by himself could buy every single black institution in America. Damn near, he could buy every HBCU in this country and still have a few $1 billion left over. So that's the difference. That's what institution building looks like. That's what wealth in America actually looks like. You ain't got no real wealth. You got a bunch of rich Negroes. You got a bunch of $100,000, $500,000, $1 million shiny Negroes with gold chains and that do a lot of loud talking, but don't have any of the patience or resilience necessary to engage in long-term institution building. Hardly none of them have the ability to build something that's going to be worth several $1 billion within a generation or two. Jerry Jones now, again, as racist as he was, he can be completely racist, get busted being racist. I mean, people saw him in that picture from 1950 something or whatever it was, and he don't give a shit. He don't got to answer to you. He ain't going on no apology tour. They gave Kyrie Irving a long list of demands like he was an 8-year-old. Jerry Jones ain't got to do shit for you. You know why? Because he's got independent wealth and power that came from a long-term vision that engaged significant institution building and made a sacrifice in order to buy a sports team that's now worth about, I don't know, what is that, about 30, 40 times the original value. There's a lot of black people who could start a sports league right now if they wanted to, but they just don't have the vision. They just don't have the vision. I would say that there's a lot of ways to kind of interpret this, and I know the alumni. I know that the the board of directors and Colorado and the trustees and all the donors are happy. They're like, wow, we went and we found this guy. And now think about it, mind you, now these are the same people that wouldn't have hired Deion 2 3 years ago. They had no interest in hiring Deion 2 3 years ago. They didn't consider him qualified 2 or 3 years ago. They're willing to hire him now because Jackson State gave him a chance when nobody else would. See, everybody talks about what Deion did for Jackson State, but nobody talks about what Jackson State did for Deion. Does anybody know that? Has anybody really followed this? Jeff Lightsey Jr. Go check out Jeff Lightsey Jr. at the Black Boss channel. He can give you the whole history. He's one of the great leading experts on HBCU sports right now. And Jeff talked about the fact that I didn't even know this, that when Deion started coaching at the college level, nobody would hire him. For even Florida State, the school that he gave so much to. I mean, he hooked Florida State up. He put them on the map. Florida State was like, yeah, we liked your black ass when you were dancing in the end zone, but we really don't want you on the sideline getting white man coach money. We don't need that. We don't trust you with that position because we don't think you have the intellect to do that job. So Jackson State was one of the few schools, if not the only school, because Deion was coaching high school. He was an offensive coordinator at a high school. So Jackson State took a chance on him. So let's not get it twisted. We know our HBCUs are not perfect. There's a lot to criticize for sure. There's weirdness, dysfunctionality, bureaucratic problems, all kinds of things. But let's just be clear. Deion did, yes, he did a lot for Jackson State, but it wasn't like he went there out of the goodness of his heart. He went there out of desperation. He went there out of necessity. If Deion could have skipped Jackson State and went straight to the so-called white leagues, or or they call them the big leagues, I would call them the white leagues. If he could have jumped straight to Colorado and skipped over Jackson State, he totally would have done that. Y'all think he went to Jackson State because there's all this love, like, oh, I gotta go be with my people, I gotta go pour into a HBCU. That wasn't his line of thinking. I mean, I'm not saying he didn't do it. I'm not saying he didn't make the most out of the opportunity or out of the situation while he was there, but they were blessing him. He was not blessing them. They had other qualified, experienced coaches that wanted that job, and it was the brilliance of the athletic director, apparently, from what I understand, that led to Deion getting the opportunity. So, so ultimately, I really kind of think that um, just being having the ability to at least see this from multiple perspectives is really important. I get it. I get the people that say, yeah, it's $5 million, or 7 million a year, whatever it is. That's great, and it's a Power Five school. I understand all of that. I totally hear that argument. I totally hear it. So the question I ask you is, can you hear the other argument yourself? Can you hear the other argument, or are you so stuck on the money piece that you can't see anything else outside of the money? You can't see the loyalty piece. You can't see the pro-black piece. You can't see the institution building aspect. You can't see the community aspect versus the individual. You can't if all you can see is the money, then you should probably just put on like a White Lives Matter shirt and just become a Klansman, because you're basically a white supremacist. If all you see is the bread, then I explained this to y'all. I explained this to y'all earlier. I'm gonna explain it again. If all you see is the money, and I'm saying this as an expert on money, my whole doctorate is in money. I understand how money flows, how money grows, the power of money, the psychology of money, all this stuff. Money is a drug. I get it. Deion himself understands money. He had a song called "Must Be the Money," right? So, so if all you see is the money, then you're a white supremacist. And the reason that you're thinking like a white supremacist is because if I'm a black man and I say, yeah, I'm gonna be with my people when I can, and I'm gonna build for my people when I can in my spare time. But if somebody offers me more money, I'm gonna go get that bag. I'm gonna go get that money. Well, if you think that way all the time, then effectively you're just basically going to go wherever he wants you to go. This is called economic warfare, black people. This is what they've been doing to you for a long time. This is why you don't understand why your wealth isn't growing. Because they use the white man is masterful at using his economic power to make people do things. So so basically what they kind of know in their head is, okay, black people are easily fooled. They all they do is they teach their children to chase the bag. We got all the bags because we're white and white people have most of the wealth in this country. So whenever we want black people to change their behavior, all we got to do is offer them a couple of dollars and they'll do it. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me you can prove to me that there are scenarios where large amounts of money is being offered and black people say, "No, we're not going to do that." But no, you could offer us $1 million. We're not interested in the money. Tell me if I'm wrong. You know I'm right. So I'm not saying Prime is a loser, a bum, or a sellout. No, he's actually probably doing it. What's very popular right now. Like this is like he's doing what a lot of people would do, and that's to me unfortunate because in my view, I see that as playing checkers, and you lose because your adversary is playing chess. That's why they went to your grandma's house in 1989, offered her 30% above the value of her home and bought that house. And you got excited because your grandma got $80,000 for a $60,000 house. And now, 30 years later, I can go to that same neighborhood and see your grandma's house on sale for $450,000. That's what that is. That's called investing. That's called long-term planning. This is another reason why if I go out and I look at the most powerful, most wealthy universities in this country, I see hundreds of universities, white owned, that have endowments of well over $1 billion. I don't see one single HBCU with a $1 billion endowment. Not one. Not one. USC is a mediocre school. It's a good school, but it's not Harvard. It's not Duke. It's not Yale. USC, a decent school, maybe top 50, top 60, literally has an endowment where they could literally buy every HBCU in America about 20 times over. And I remember when Dr. Dre, bless his heart, Dr. Dre wrote a check with Jimmy Iovine to USC for an amount of money that would have transformed any HBCU in this country. And I did not understand it. And shout out to that HBCU president down at Xavier. I'm trying to remember his name, Kimbrough. Shout out to Dr. Kimbrough, who did a really wonderful job of writing a very eloquent article, politely explaining to Dr. Dre why his actions were ridiculous, why that just doesn't make any sense. USC didn't even need the money. USC spent that money in about 2 weeks. But an HBCU could have taken that massive donation and probably educated 100,000 black kids with it. so so I just will say that with this whole thing with Prime, I just really wish I wish we could kind of understand. Again, it's not really me saying you have to agree with me. I'm not saying that anybody has to agree. I get it. I mean, I actually agree with. I disagree with myself. That's how weird I am. I disagree with myself because I want to understand both sides of an argument. I want to understand both sides very well. I think, I mean, tell me if there's any other factor I'm missing. When Deion goes to Colorado, there's $5 to $7 million. There is also the chance for he and his sons to be on a big stage nationally. I imagine there's going to be a better job in the future. He'll either get fired or he'll end up getting a better job at a higher university. Do I understand sports? I don't know if I understand sports as well as everyone, but I definitely am a big sports fan. I went to Ohio State. I watch college football very closely. I know that my Buckeyes are in the top four, and they're going to get a chance to play for a national championship. That makes me very happy. I played all the sports when I was a kid, mostly basketball, football, and track. A little bit of baseball, not too much. My father was good at baseball, but I never knew my father, so he never had a chance to teach me. And so I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm a sports expert, but the thing is that this is so much bigger than sports. This is really, again, this is really just solely about taking a moment to reflect on how white people have lots of institutions in their community and you have almost none. And the reason you don't have any is because whenever you get something good going, first thing they'll do is try to buy you out. First thing they'll do. That's how they stole your hip hop music. You had the best rappers and the best DJs and the best parties right there in the South Bronx. You had $1 trillion industry right there in the South Bronx. They could have would have become $1 trillion industry. But when they saw what you had going on, when they saw the swag that you had, Primetime ain't the first guy in the black community to have swag. You had DJ Cool Herc, Grandmaster Flash, Africa Bambaataa, KRS-One. You had the best of everything. You had something money could not buy. Well, when they came by with a bag, everybody just kind of sold out and was thinking about self. Nobody was thinking about institution building. The only people that came close to that to some extent might have been like Russell Simmons. Russell Simmons was one of the few, and unfortunately, he had these partnerships with people in the Jewish community and whatnot. And the Jewish community, they don't sell their bag like that. Like they don't sell their secret sauce as quickly as we will. So they kind of get into business deals and they're able to take control of those business deals because they make their kids as good at business as our kids are at basketball. That is a cultural decision. That is a cultural norm that they possess that you should probably pay attention to because it explains why you spend so much time being frustrated because they control all the media and so much of the banks and so many other institutions in this country. You really can't offend the Jewish community because they made sure they put themselves in a position of power through what? Institution building, institution building. So ultimately, I'm gonna put a Genius Gaming says a lost voice on his hate and lack of intelligence on this subject. Well, if I'm incorrect on a certain area, I would challenge your intelligence and ask you to correct me. Tell me where I'm wrong. But if you think I'm a hater, then I guess I must be a hater because somebody's got to hate on the culture. If we have this culture where we're always economically losing, then yeah, I'm gonna hate on that. If we have a culture where we always want to be in last place economically as a people, yeah, I'm gonna hate on that. If we want to have a culture where our community, our institutions, our schools are the worst ones and the least funded and the least supported and the most abandoned, yeah, I'm gonna hate on that. And it really comes down to this thing where you got to stop sort of training your kids to not just chase the bag, but chase these shiny objects. I would really dare to say, if you talk about um, Deion being that dude. He always says, I'm that dude. I'm that dude. To me, if you're that dude, then you should be that dude no matter where you are or what you're affiliated with, right? If you're that dude, he's going to be that dude at Colorado. Now, whether or not they are open to that culturally, I'm really curious to see how that plays out. I know that when Deion gets there, he's going to have a diverse audience. Some of them don't like all the chains and the bragging and the swag and all that. And if you remember, 30 years ago when Deion was really doing his thing, he started it at Atlanta, with playing for the Atlanta Falcons. And in Atlanta, they like that stuff. I had an Uncle John who was just like Deion. He had 4 or 5 rings on his fingers. He had about 4 or 5 chains. He had a couple gold teeth. Like he liked Deion. He liked that style. Whereas I wonder if that style worked as well when he was playing for the Dallas Cowboys or whatever. But he was a great player, so maybe that worked out for him. But I'm really curious to see how the people in Colorado feel, especially if he's not really able to win. Like that's the football fan in me. I'm gonna really watch the team to just kind of see, how things work out. I want things to work out for him. I want him to do well. And he's impressed me as a coach. I really think that he deserved an opportunity, and I think it's kind of unfair that he didn't get one earlier. But I just feel like we kind of missed Such an opportunity, though. And I'm gonna tell you this though: if he doesn't win, if he can't win in Colorado, it's gonna be real messy for him. They'll run you out of town. College football don't play. They got too much money on the line. If you ain't winning, now Jackson State, they might let you sit there and lose it, have a couple losing seasons. I don't really know if Colorado would give that sort of leeway. So my prediction is that within 3 years, Deion will either walk up or walk down. Like he'll either go to a better job, maybe a Notre Dame or a Florida State or something, or even I don't know, Alabama or something, or he'll end up stepping back down. So I'm curious to see how it plays out. That's the football fan in me, but the institution builder in me is really trying to help you at least understand that this is why this is why a lot of black family businesses don't do well. When I was in Baltimore and I was going through Baltimore, and there was this old parking lot where this guy told me there used to be a mall there. Used to be a black-owned mall in that parking lot, and all these black businesses used to be in that spot. And I said, well, what happened? Like, where the businesses go? And they said, well, in the next generation, the kids didn't want to take over the businesses. The kids just wanted to get jobs. And so basically the businesses died because the kids just were like, it's not cool to be part of the family business. Why would I want to build something of my own when I can just go work for this corporation that's going to pay me a lot of money? And what we don't see when it comes to wealth is we see the paycheck. We don't see the residuals of the paycheck. We don't see the capital gains. We don't see the long-term benefit. Like you go to your job and they pay you well. Let's say they pay you $250,000 a year. You work yourself, you work your ass into the ground, you spend up all your money, and then you die at your desk, and then the corporation's bigger and stronger because you were there. But none of that goes to you and your family. None of that goes to your kids. That goes to his kids. That's his legacy. They just replace you and put somebody else in that spot. So with what I see the difference is with Deion being at Jackson State versus being at Colorado is if he builds up Jackson State and makes Jackson State great, then yeah, he makes less money, but the city of Jackson wins. The HBCUs win. The black community wins. Maybe he gets those corporations to pour money in, and their endowment grows to $1 billion or something, right? So a lot of people win. But if he goes to Colorado and he wins a national championship, well, that's not none of that is owned by the black community. None of that long-term benefit goes to black people. Now he wins personally, but the black community does not win. So, and the thing is that this happens in a lot of African countries. That's why you can go to Nigeria, and you know that Nigeria has more oil than damn near every country on the planet, if I'm not mistaken. I think they have the largest oil reserves on earth. So you would think that a country that has the largest oil reserves on earth, or among the largest, would have the wealthiest society on earth. That the people, everybody would have plenty of money, like Saudi Arabia or some shit. But it's not like that. Nigeria has a lot of extreme poverty. And you have to ask yourself, how is it that a country can have the most valuable oil on the planet, trillions of dollars in oil reserves, and have all that damn poverty? Well, the reason they have all that poverty is because the leadership sells the oil to Europeans, and they take care of themselves financially, and they leave the people out of the deal. They think about the individual, but they don't think about the community. And when that does happen, when you have leaders like Ken Saro-Wiwa 30 years ago, who tried to take care of the community, who started asking those hard questions, they just killed him. They killed Ken Saro-Wiwa. So basically, in the black community, you have the exact same issue that you have in Nigeria. The question would become, okay, black wealth is much lower than white wealth. Black wealth is going down. Black people have some of the ugliest hoods in America. Black people have extreme poverty. And these really poor, broken, busted up neighborhoods have produced some of the richest, most famous hip hop artists on the planet. They produce some of the best athletes on the planet, billion-dollar athletes. How is it that a community could produce tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars worth of natural resources in its athletes and its entertainers and in its culture, and still have so much poverty and have such a lack of power? Well, it's because of mindset. You never had leaders that made the sacrifice to engage in enough institution building to ensure that all people benefit and not just some of the people. You have a lot of validated narcissism, a lot of validated narcissism where I can be a rapper and I can literally say, look at my hood. In my hood that I'm from, nobody can eat. And where I'm from, everybody gets killed. Where I'm from, people can't even go to the grocery store because they so poor. But look at me, I'm shining. I got a Bentley. I got a mansion. I just bought 10 Balenciaga outfits in a Gucci bag, right? I can say all of that. And there's very few people that will stand up and say, how is it that you got a Bentley and 10 Balenciaga outfits and a Gucci bag and a mansion and your hood that you're claiming to represent in every album is struggling like that? Like nobody says that because eventually somebody will jump in front of them and say, "Man, why you hating? Why you hating? Why you pocket watching? Why you got your hand in that man's pocket, nigga? What wrong with you?" Right? Like so we kind of beat each other down like that. Like we don't allow. We're not real. Some of us, not all of us, but some of us are just not interested in the expression of higher level righteous ideas when it comes to how we assess the world and assess our situation. So I think with the Deion Sanders thing, and some of you get me, some of you are listening, and I get it. So a lot of you, understand where I'm coming from. Some of y'all just gonna use stupid terms like hater and stuff. That's, come on, man. I'm 51 years old. Let's use grown up language. Let's not talk like 12-year-old rappers. Um, but at the end of the day, I just really think it's important to be able to understand why some people are not happy about the abandonment of our institutions. And I want to point that out so that you know that the abandonment of your institutions is the reason that your institutions are not strong. And I also want you to know that the Jewish community does not do this to their institutions. And that's why their institutions are stronger than yours. So for those of you that understand that, what I here's the way you can apply this right now is you can think about your family business and think about the culture that you raise your children in. What I would do if I wanted to have a multi-million-dollar family is I would raise my children to have the best economic skills that they possibly can. I would make sure that they're well trained in all areas, financial, etc. And in fact, we have a whole Black business school for kids called Black Millionaires of Tomorrow. You can find it on my website. It's all at boycewatkins.com. It's in the Black business school. It's called Black Millionaires of Tomorrow. It's a whole curriculum. I put that together based on what I taught my students at Syracuse University. And basically, make sure your kids are economically well trained. Make sure that they have discipline so they can apply what they know. And then, most importantly, tell them there is nothing more valuable than the family business. There's no place that you'd rather be than next to your brothers and sisters. There's no place where you are safer than when you're with your clan, than when you're with your clique. There's no job out here that you can ever have that can pay you enough money to make you feel like you're in a better place than you are when you are pouring into the family. There's no institution you can pour into that matters more than this one that we got right here. Right. And that's really important to understand because, when you're talking about building up major corporations, that takes a sacrifice, man. Somebody's got to pass up a job for that to happen. Elon Musk became the richest man on earth because he got to a point in his career where he said, I'm no longer looking for a job. I'm looking to build an institution. Jeff Bezos became one of the richest men on earth by owning Amazon because he walked away from a $300,000 a year job. He wasn't just chasing the bag, he was chasing the power. UPS was founded by two teenagers who were delivering packages on their bicycles less than 100 years ago. And they eventually built a company that's worth $250 million. I could keep going on and on and on down the list. Institution building, baby. That's how you get that power. So look around you and ask yourself, what institution am I pouring into that has a chance to give my family power? And if you can't think of anything, then that means you might need to shift your priorities because that could mean that you're pouring into an institution that is not owned and controlled by you. That's my point. That's what I want to say. Thank you for listening. Hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. We're doing a Black Wall Street training that starts on December 6th. It's going to be all about how the black folks built institutions on Black Wall Street 100 years ago. How old Mr. Gurley and all the others went out there and started. Remember O.W. Gurley, who created Black Wall Street and all those black millionaires out there? He did the same thing. He could have chased a bag. He got offered a lot of great jobs back east, and they were shocked. They were like, "Why would you leave a good job to go out there in Oklahoma where there ain't nothing out there? They ain't got no money to give you." He said, "Because I want to build something for my people." So O.W. Gurley, that's a bad dude. That you talk about being that dude. Go look up. Go have your kids learn about O.W. Gurley. O.W. Gurley could have got any job he wanted. White people liked him 100 years ago. And they didn't like that many of us. O.W. Gurley could have taken good care of himself and his family. But you know O.W. Gurley did? He said, I want to build something that's going to last, a legacy that's going to last far beyond my death. So he went out to Oklahoma and he started Black Wall Street. He got 40 acres of land. He broke it up into pieces. He recruited other great black people and he started businesses on that property. And next thing you know, they had hundreds of businesses right in that little community. Now, sure, the story didn't end the way we wanted it to, but to me, that's what I saw when I saw Deion Sanders going to Jackson State, and I said, man, it would be so great if he could get the corporate sponsors to start dumping the money in, get those players those NIL deals, get that money into the institution, and then he will become a millionaire off that. He could make millions of dollars off that. I don't know if he's a millionaire now. I mean, I know he made a lot of money playing football, but I don't know if he's a millionaire. And and I question that a little bit because in my mind, if you're just pouring in money and you've got so many millions of dollars you can't count them, then what a job pays you shouldn't even matter at that point. You should be beyond jobs by that point, right? So I don't know. I don't know where his economic situation is, but what I saw a scenario where Jackson State probably would have and probably still will you know, like gain an extra $100 million in the next, 3 or 4 years. I mean, think about it. You're filling up stadiums because your fans are so loyal. Those are tickets. People buying those tickets. You're getting eyeballs on national television. ESPN did College Game Day down there. You've got all kinds of corporations that are now paying attention to what you got going on down at Jackson State. I mean, that Jackson State is gonna do well regardless. Like this is the part that actually makes me really happy is that Jackson State is really kind of on the map now, and you can't sort of forget that they exist. And now that job, is as much as I hate the fact that it's seen as a stepping stone position, there are going to be a lot of great people that are going to apply for that position. And so now all they have to do is convert all that attention into additional resources. And I can tell you, if you have something like how about this? Here's what I'm saying. Like, if you understand economics, you can see that energy and you can see how that energy could be converted into money. It's almost like converting fuel into combustion or into energy. Like you understand how the process works. So like I could go to Jackson State right now, and if I control that energy and control that economic environment, I can find a way to bring in an extra $50 million next year, right? Because when you got people and people are coming together and people are excited about things, you can monetize that in ways you would not believe. And so I think Jackson State's going to do really well. I think the HBCUs are going to really benefit. And what HBCUs really need is they need their own independent economic base, because you're too great. Your tradition is too proud for y'all to be begging. But you got to produce more powernomics minded graduates. Every single student, if I was running an HBCU, every single kid in that damn school would have to read, then damn near memorize powernomics. Every one of them. I would have every one of them learning powernomics, and then I would teach them the history of how wealth is built in this country, and I would help them understand the disparities so they could go out there and conquer the world and own assets and buy real estate, buy stocks and bonds, make investments, build all kinds of wealth, and through a thousand different revenue streams. I just really think that you can't run institutions where you're training everybody to go work for white people. That's my point. And I'm not saying HBCUs do that. I'm not saying that at all. But my Lord Jesus, I mean, when you're going to work for other people, just understand you're not making yourself rich, you're making them rich. Those jobs don't pay enough money for you to really build a lot of independent wealth. But the people who own the job, the guy who gave you the job, oh, he's building independent wealth. So I just kind of think we got to think at a higher level. And if you never learn to think above the rim, then you're going to always be confused by the people who have learned to play above the rim. So I really think that wealthy whites and wealthy blacks and Jews, I think they've learned how to play the rim, and I play above the rim, and I really think that as black people, that should just be our standard. So have your kids read books like Powernomics, teach them those principles, make sure they understand words like ownership. That's really important. Make sure that they understand the importance of investing, which means make a sacrifice today so you can have more tomorrow. I walked away from a really high-paying job to start my business, and it was scary and it was really hard. But eventually, after I made about $20 million, I realized that I was very happy that my job thing didn't work out. And so when after I made a few $1 million, I was like, "Oh, okay, thank you, God. I get it now. I'm glad you forced me out of my baby crib where I was nice and comfortable and pushed me out into a scenario where I was going to find, um, the way to be my best self. And so I'm just telling you, man, that's where wealth comes from. That's why Harvard's endowment is 40 something $1 billion, because they have entrepreneurs that go out and create multi-billion-dollar companies that can easily come back and write $100 million check. HBCUs don't have that. They don't have anybody that can write the checks that size. So when they get their donations, when they go to do fundraisings and they need to raise 100 million, they can't do it a lot of times. So that's it, guys. I'm just kind of I'm doing a lot of talking now, and I know some people are going to disagree with me, and I totally get it. And it doesn't make, and it's not even it wouldn't even make sense for me to try to explain that I don't hate Deion Sanders. I actually want him to do well. I'm gonna watch Colorado and cheer for them. He gives me a reason to cheer for Colorado. I like the underdog, and I want to see him do well. But at the same time, I think I don't I think we missed an opportunity here. But maybe somebody else will come along and do an even better job. But you got to learn how economics and power works in this country, and you got to build institutions. Because if you don't, the white man will always kick you around. All these guys that are mad because they can't, get an NFL team to sell them 10% of the team, like whatever, or mad that Jerry Jones, wasn't forced to apologize like Kyrie Irving. Jerry Jones ain't got to apologize for shit. He owns America's team. He has an $8 billion entity. Jerry Jones don't, in his mind, he don't owe you no apology, because he could tell you to kiss his whole entire pasty white ass, and he's still gonna be making another $100 million next week. So I just tell you, at the end of the day, when you have ownership, you can kind of do what you want. But as long as you're chasing bags by trying to work for people, you're gonna be stressed out. That's how the system works. That's capitalism. All right, guys. Well, have a good night. It was fun talking to you. Thanks for hanging out with me late at night like this. I don't even I didn't even plan on doing this, but I thought that actually, you know what? Before I go, I should play Deion's video so you can hear his perspective, because I think he deserves that respect. So here's what he had to say to Colorado when he got there. Here you
The
go.
thing that alarms me the most is just because I'm leaving Jackson, they think that I'm leaving African American. I don't know if you noticed or not, but I'm black. I can never leave who I am and what I am and how I go about being that. So it is still my task to look in that locker room and see 65 to 70% of African American men trying to help them get to the next level, as well as all the others. My calling is for young men, young women, and people of all walks of life, all social climates, and all ethnicities. That's my calling. My calling is not built on a location. It's built on a destination. Now that was good. You're supposed to clap for that. Shoot. Darn it, that was good. You give me some of my good stuff. We just getting started. I already went in the bag, baby. Let's go.
I'm gonna tell you, he's got a lot of charm, and I really liked what he had to say, kind of in general. And I understand why he said it that way. I mean, I think at the University of Colorado, you can't really do the whole pro-black thing, the way you can at a Jackson State. And so, because I think that if he talks too black, he ends up risking offending, all the white people that he works with. And And then he mentioned something about being able to help the black students that are at Colorado, and I get that. Like I used to feel that way. Again, when I worked at Syracuse, I used to think, well, I want to be here for the black students at Syracuse. When really, I realized eventually, like none of us should really be here because most of the black students at Syracuse, when I was there, they were being mistreated. There was a lot of racism. Most of them are still in debt, the student loan debt. I got students I taught 20 years ago who still haven't paid off their student loans, and I wasn't where I needed to be. I needed to actually be developing the black business school and doing something in the black community. I didn't need to be, sitting up under somebody else. And the thing is that in your community, you have some people that are really just too great to be under somebody's tent. Like you if you're as tall as a tent pole, you can't fit under somebody else's tent. And so with a guy like Dion, I think he's got that special it factor where I just hate the idea that he feels like he needs the University of Colorado to validate him when he can validate himself. And but it's a journey. I had to grow into that. When I created the Black Business School, people would ask me, they'd say, hey, are you going to try to seek accreditation? And I said, why would I seek accreditation from an inferior educational system that's proven that it's incapable of properly educating Black people? No, we don't seek accreditations. We give accreditations. We are the authority. We are the temple. In finance, I'm okay with saying, yeah, I am that dude. Like Deion says, I am that dude on the football field. Well, I was that dude when it came to finance. I was the Wall Street Journal outstanding graduate and senior in finance. I had the highest GPA of all the black students, and it was very easy to do. It wasn't like it was even hard. I was literally dominating in that field. I could run circles around some of the smartest people, in the world. And I was smarter than most of my professors by the time I got done. I mean, I was that dude. And I think that in your community, you have a lot of genius young Black men and women, and you lose $1 trillion every generation because you take great men and women and you turn them into fucking employees. Like a person who is a winner is not supposed to be following behind a loser. A person that can go 100 miles an hour should not be forced to run behind somebody who can only go 50 miles an hour. So a lot of your kids, they're so great, they're so bad, they're so brilliant. Some of y'all got kids that are so smart that they need to be their own boss. They're built to be leaders, they're winners, they're super sharp, and they're only going to get frustrated sitting behind somebody who not only isn't as smart as them, but infuriates them with all their bullshit. And it makes me think about how I felt. I remember when I was at Syracuse University, and I've been on the faculty for a while, and I had a conversation with the dean, and he happened to be a Black man. And I remember saying to him, I said, you know, I understand that you guys don't like me very much. The institution doesn't like me. Y'all know y'all want me out of here. I said, but and I know that you're gonna make an argument that maybe I'm not qualified because I feel like that's kind of what they do to Black people in general. I said, but truth be told, that argument isn't gonna work on me now because it might have it worked on me when I was 10. When I was 10, my white teachers would tell me I wasn't smart enough or that I was too hyperactive. I need to be put on medication. They do that to a lot of your sons, by the way. So just be real careful. They really want to put the smart Black boys on medication because sharp Black boys that question everything are a real threat to the system. It's not the thugs. The thugs are not a threat. They just kill the thugs. They throw them in jail. They're just fulfilling the stereotype. It's the little geniuses that they worry about the most, the geniuses with courage. And I was a genius and I had courage. And I said, but now I said I'm a grown man and I'm not falling for the hype. I'm not letting you all define me anymore. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell you that it's not me being unqualified. That's the issue here. The issue is that you haven't even promoted a single Black person in the last 100 years in the field of finance, which tells me that this institution is either too racist to accurately judge talent, or you're just too stupid to see talent when it's in front of you. So either way, I need to leave here because I need to go find my true destiny because I've outgrown this place. I've outgrown this situation. I'm not built to be, your employee. I'm supposed to go create something of my own. And that was my mindset, and the thing is, I know everybody can't do it. Everybody can't, go create an institution and build something great, but I think a lot more of us can, and confidence is a big part of that. Like, you really got to believe in yourself. And the problem with white supremacy is that once them damn white folks get in your head, they be having you second guess yourself like crazy. Like, they'll have you in there just, like, wonder, well, maybe I wasn't I was late to the job 5 times, in the last year, and I did misspell something on the legal brief, and so maybe that means I'm not good enough. So they'll have you. When they kill your confidence, what happens when your confidence gets killed is your desire to take chances goes way down. You're already from a scared conservative community. You're already from a community where they came out of slavery, where we had to be scared and conservative just to survive. So especially if you talk about a black boy that's got a single mom that just wants him to be safe and okay, every time he gets, his instincts tell him to go take a chance and fight for something. His mother might just tell him, no, 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 don't do that. These things are gonna happen. And I went through that. I remember just hearing people that love me tell me, like, no, 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 if you do that, you're gonna mess up your career, and they'll never hire you again, and all this other stuff. I'm so happy I didn't listen. The best thing I ever did was to stop listening to all the people in my ear telling me not to take a chance on me. I just felt it. I felt God was telling me. I really kid you not. I mean, God inside me was like, Boyce, you are a fucking nuclear bomb. Like, if the world gets a chance to hear some of these ideas that are in your head, you will change the entire planet permanently. You will be in a history book. And I kid you not. Like, you know, I'm actually in history books now. There are history books out there that where I'm in. There's a little part on voice, but now it doesn't even matter. Like, I got to the point where I don't even care about that stuff anymore because I know all this arbitrary. But still, and so the only thing I regret actually was that I didn't figure that out sooner, and I didn't actually go harder. So here's the thing. This is my simple point, and this is a stream of consciousness. I know I probably, so to some people I probably sound like I'm rambling, but those of y'all that get it, you're welcome to hang out and just kind of keep chatting with me. But I feel like greatness in building in institution building requires at least two things. It does require like some talent and training. That means you got to commit yourself to get really good at something. Whatever it is you're trying to do, you got to really train. And for me, it was going through the rigors of the PhD program, which was the hardest thing I ever did. But then it secondly requires like lots of confidence. Like, you got to really be ready to take that shot. Like, you can't really be holding back. You can't be like, oh well, I'm nervous and I don't want to. No, you got to like find some conversation you need to have with yourself to just go shoot your shot and go as hard as you possibly can. And then I think it takes like some level of discipline and commitment to deal with the situations where your shot completely misses, or when you get your teeth knocked out. Like, you got to have some resilience in you where you don't internalize the fact that you got your ass kicked and somehow take that to mean that you need to stop doing what you're doing. Because I do believe, now that I'm looking at my life, looking back at it now, again, I'm not 21 anymore. I'm not 31. I'm not 41. I'm 51 years old. So so some of y'all may seem old. Some of y'all may seem young. Some of y'all might be your age. But looking at it right now from where I'm looking in the rearview mirror, it's like I'm super happy that I got to a point about the age of 28 where I stopped giving a fuck what people thought about what I was doing next. It was at that age where I gained just enough um, confidence or even arrogance to accept and acknowledge that I just had ideas that a lot of people are not going to understand. Like, that was when I think that's when I started transitioning into that maybe genius space, if you want to call it that. I mean, think about it. I'm 28. I had been teaching college for about 7 years at that point. I mean, how many 28-year-old black men can say I've been teaching on college campuses for 7 years? This was what, 20, how many years ago? 20, what's that, 23 years ago. 23 years ago, I've been teaching college for 7 years. I didn't even realize how abnormal that was. I was just trying to get to my PhD program. So, but it was at that point where I was like, boys, you got to stop listening to other people, because most of the people you're listening to don't understand what you understand. They can't see what you see. So the frustration would come. And this is the thing. Like, some of you may not get it. Some of you may be, some people in this room are just going to be like, okay, what the hell is he talking about? He's arrogant. I get it. But some of you are visionaries. Some of you are visionaries. Some of you are highly skilled at what you do. Some of you are really committed to your dream, and you're pro-black, and you're working hard every day. And those are the people I like talking to the most. I relate to you the most. I can't relate to people that just want to go in a different direction. God bless them. I wish them the best. Um, and I just really think that if you're a true visionary in terms of what you want to do, you really have to have faith in that vision, and you got it. Like, you can't waste time trying to explain that vision to people that have no vision, because all it's going to do is piss you off and frustrate you and stress you and cause you to lose confidence in what you're trying to do. It doesn't mean you can't take advice. Like, I like to listen to a lot of perspectives. Like, when I have a good idea now, I ask people, like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? So I try to take in as many points of view as I possibly can, so that I know where my blind spots are. But if God really like drills it in my heart and says, boys, no, this is it. This is where it needs to go. Now I'm at a point where I just go, man. I just go. And the chips fall where they may. If it don't work out, then it don't work out. But I'm gonna go. So I would encourage you, whatever it is in your life that matters to you. I'm gonna tell you, I'm also at an interesting stage in my life where a lot of people that I knew growing up, and a lot of people that were my elders that I loved, they're getting sick. A lot of cancer. A lot of people getting cancer from all the processed foods and everything. Lots of cancer everywhere. It's kind of crazy, and it's really making me reflect on things. And so as I hit that stage in life, it's reminding me we don't have a lot of time. So whatever it is you want to do, like, get up and do it tomorrow. Start working on it tomorrow. Because you don't know, you think you got all the time in the world, but you actually don't. Okay. All right. So anyway, I'm done talking. I'm done talking. We done finished talking about Deion. We talking about all kinds of stuff. But anyway, it was fun talking to y'all. Thank you for listening. And again, if you want to look into that wealth building program for kids and stuff like that we have in the Black Business School, feel free to go to boycewatkins.com. And a lot of your kids will be home for Christmas and stuff. And maybe it's a good time to introduce them to some good financial concepts. We even created a crypto program for kids that trains them on crypto. So we have a lot of good stuff. All right, guys. Well, have a good night. And if you could hit the thumbs up button on your way out, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care now. Peace.